Hi guys, welcome to Signal Path. Today we are talking about all things analog delay. I built this little kind of mini board with 3 of my favorite analog delays on it and wanted to kind of talk through what analog delay sounds like and play some sounds because that's fun, but also talk through a little bit about what I think makes a great analog delay and what you might find valuable. I think if you haven't used analog delay, there are things that we have great digital emulations for, but there is weirdly nothing quite exactly like the real thing to me. And so I've got 3 here today. I've got the Jam Pedals Delay Llama Mk.3, the Tonal Recall Red Knob mod from Bliss, and the Meraki from Walrus Audio. And what really I kind of thought would be fun is talking about 3 different approaches and levels of feature intricacy, because I think one thing that is very, very true about us who are kind of chronic gear acquirers is that we often I think look for the next sort of rung and next layer of pedalboard maximalism for many of us who go on the collecting journey. But I think that there are different delays for different users, and as you can kind of see, there are kind of 3 different levels of implementation. The Delay Llama Mk.3 is just this incredibly well-tuned but very, very straightforward and direct expression of analog delay, where the Red Knob mod expands on that a little bit with some tonal control and modulation. And the Meraki is, I think, the consummate pedalboard maximalist's dream when it comes to analog delay, because it's in stereo, it has MIDI, it has a number of really, really complicated but really incredible sounding options. And so I think it would be fun just to kind of go through this and talk through kind of 3 of my favorite delays and the sounds and how I like to sort of sprinkle them in. But I'm curious what your Goldilocks level is. If you use analog delay on the board, is modulation a must? Are you looking for the most straightforward and easy to access version? Or, are you like me, where the Meraki is something that you find yourself kind of constantly carving out a very considerable real estate for? It is glorious and majestic in its enormity, which I think is a ton of fun, but definitely something that is something to behold. We're going to dive into the sounds, but before we do that, if you like this kind of content, it would mean a ton to me if you would go ahead and like this video to let YouTube know to recommend this style of content in the future, and subscribe to the channel to follow along. Let's jump into it. All right, let's take a look at the delays. I'm playing my Suhr Alt T Pro through the EUNA, Cali 76 Stacked Edition, and Empress EQ. Sounds like this. Let's take a look at our first delay, the Jam Delay Llama Mk.3. This is kind of the archetypal analog delay in my mind, because it delivers on absolutely everything analog delay promises. It's warm, it's subtle, it's a little bit reverberant in its own kind of hazy way. If we bring the level and repeats up just a little bit. It kind of has almost like a tonal enhancer. Like something that you could kind of leave on for your entire set and I think be happy about it. I find that analog delay, if I have to fake a reverb, I'm probably going to use an analog delay. what's really fun about really well-designed analog delays like the Delay Llama, if you hit something particularly hard, it'll start to oscillate, but you can kind of kill it by playing something else. Definitely kind of a fun performance tool. But kind of in an ambient context, what I like to do is set a pretty long delay, some pretty long repeats. So if you're looking to get away from like the Bloom brand of ambience, like that really big, bright reverb sound, this does a really, really beautiful job of kind of bringing that like analog delay warmth. And so the Delay Llama Mk.3 kind of brings in, I would say, the essential analog delay. There's no frills. It's got tap tempo, level, tone, or level, time, and repeats, and that is it. Which is perfect for if you've got like a gig where you just need something that kind of works for any setting and any sound. It's got a lot of real beauty to it if you bring kind of repeats and time down. It's like classy, it feels great, it's really fun. Moving up to the tonal recall, this expands on some of those features and brings us a couple of kind of cool, fun ideas for analog delay. First, we have modulation. So if you're looking to create like kind of weird dream pop stuff, I would say modulation's kind of a must. I find that this does a pretty compelling kind of Deluxe Memory Man fake. What that modulation provides is kind of the ability to obfuscate your repeats a little bit better. This can be fun for like really modulated single repeats. If we bring the time way down, almost kind of fake a modulation pedal. The more you bring the regen up, the crazier it gets. That's a little bit about what kind of the modulation sphere of things. This is kind of less about these specific pedals and more about, okay, the Delay Llama is an essential kind of toolbox for creating standard delay sounds, but the tonal recall is what happens when you add modulation. But there's kind of one more frontier that's worth exploring, and that is what happens when you expand analog delay to stereo. And thankfully, the guys at Walrus Audio were just crazy enough to explore it, and that's what the Meraki is. If you're not familiar, the Meraki is exactly that, a stereo analog delay with some really, really crazy feature sets. So to kind of show where we're at in terms of the stereo split, I'm going to set these to different subdivisions and a kind of a stereo path. So now you can hear on the left and the right different delays happening. We tap something in here. Now when we increase the modulation, so what happens when you expand analog delay to stereo, you get this really cool and wide field for kind of layering these cool, crunchy delay tones. There's obviously in the Meraki different feedback paths and ways that you can set things up. But even if we set all of both delays to the same division, where it's, you know, now showing kind of the same on left and right. Something about that kind of modulation in stereo. So, stereo analog delay can be a ton of fun. It's, I mean, honestly, one of my favorite sounds. But as you can kind of see, the practicalities of what it takes from an enclosure to fit that much hardware and just kind of processing and all of the kind of incredible engineering behind the Meraki means you get a box that is much larger. And so I think the question becomes, what do you need from an analog delay? For me, I love having the options of all three of these, but honestly, if I need a modulated delay, I'm often reaching for Timeline or the Volante or something to that effect where the modulation's in stereo, the delay is in stereo, and the Meraki definitely brings that, but it's such a big investment from the pedal board that often I have to build my board with the Meraki in mind. This is very, very easy to do when I'm building something for kind of ambient creation in the studio. It is hands down one of the most interesting and fun to play delays that I own. But it is kind of that, where it is either a cornerstone of your workflow or something that is going to be hard to bring along in a gig bag. And then when it comes to the tonal recall, that is sort of, I think, the Goldilocks of it. Has some of those fun amenities for ambient music. It's got some modulation. It's got some fun tricks that Chase Bliss is always known for. And it's easy to kind of throw on the board and kind of have a place for it. But if I'm being entirely honest, what I'm reaching for the most often at the moment is the Delay Llama Mk.3, especially for things like pedal steel and slide guitar, because it just sounds great. I don't need to bend over and find a good sound. Pretty much whatever you turn on, you can find inspiration from. And that is something that I think is honestly a rarity in the pedal space these days, to have something that just kind of immediately works out of the box. I think in our pursuit of options and sophistication, we often miss what curation as a value can provide for us as players. And so I think, there's a reason I have all three of these. There's a reason I keep them around. They all serve somewhat different purposes for me. At the same time, I think that there's immense value in adding something like this to your rig, whether it just be for the purposes of creating warmth or adding a new ambient palette like modulated analog delay, or going to the moon with something that is stereo and expansive and kind of something that just takes you to a different planet sonically. I think they're all incredible. I think everybody should at least try it. But hopefully you're able to find something that is inspiring and something that kind of pulls you deeper into making music. Because at the end of the day, I think that's, when we're talking about any of these devices, you're going to get great sounds from any of them. But the thing that I think really makes pedals fun and guitar and creativity fun is the ways that these kinds of rabbit trails and threads draw us deeper into the creative process. And so, yeah, those are three of my favorite analog delays and what they kind of represent in my creative process. But, what's your Goldilocks? Are you looking for something that is bare bones and easy to use? Are you looking for the pedal board maximalist vision of the Meraki? Something in between? Let me know. But yeah, thanks for watching.